You're listening to an audiobook from Empower. This is the book Dare to Start by author Manh Cuong. In the printed version, there are our various calculation templates that are not included in this audiobook. Please support the author by purchasing the printed book through the link below in the description. Thank you. Calculation. How much to invest and when to break even. Have you seen someone who is in the middle of building a house and runs out of money? Have you ever seen someone who has a very good business but is forced to close it because of a low season? Have you ever seen anyone go halfway on the highway and run out of gas? This last part may not be appreciated by beginners, amateurs, or young people. However, this is the key to the sustainable success of experienced and well-versed people. I know this chapter alone could have been written into another book, and in Empower's course, Secrets of Financial Management, a makeover for people who do not like numbers, I will explain in more detail. But in this section, I would like to simplify the complex so that everyone can calculate the most important calculations of a family business model. Suppose one of you wants to build a tower. Won't you first sit down and estimate the cost to see if you have enough money to complete it? For if you lay the foundation and are not able to finish it, everyone who sees it will ridicule you, saying, "This person began to build and was not able to finish." Luke 14, verse 28-30. Jesus used the example of calculating cash flows as if everyone knew it and it was something normal. If something was normal for the Jews 2,000 years ago, perhaps it needs to be normal for each of us today. Yet the sad thing is that a lot of startups do not think before they start. Many people do not have a cash flow plan and do not know the break-even point. Having just an idea, they rush to start working, and then all of a sudden they run out of money and end up totally out of control. Although this is one of the last chapters, it is one of the most important chapters of this book. We made the mistake in the early days of business training of not including number calculation from the very first sessions, along with developing students' thinking. And some students moved too fast, resulting in failures and losses that could have been significantly reduced. Mindset is important, but it is not enough to help us succeed. Success is heavily reliant on the ability to calculate numbers and monitor risks. The way to success is to constantly make new steps up the ladder of mindset, inspiration, energy, and then to start calculating, tracking, and applying tools. Then we need new inspirations and new toolkits, and then we have to apply new calculations. 10 steps to start a family business with secrets from the Bible. 239. Mindset, inspiration, and calculation are like two lenses of life. One lens must always be inspired and energized by ideas, while the other eye turns our ideas and inspirations into calculations. Do not look at life through one lens. Keep an eye on the numbers. Chances are, when we see numbers, many of us will have a natural reflex to avoid or skip reading. Do not do that, and do not be afraid. Here is the good news. Numbers can tell stories, and you can absolutely learn how to read those stories and write your own using numbers, even if you have never liked numbers before, or you are a farmer who just finished 3rd grade. You can make the numbers write a good story of your work and life if you are willing to learn the following not so unattainable, not so complicated things. If you do not, then life and business will write your story for you. But there is a high chance it will be a story of loss and heartache. Now let's start with the simplest calculation for starting a small business. How much investment is needed? When starting to invest in a business model yourself, you need to take out a pen and calculate these 4 simple numbers. 1. Do you need to rent business premises? How much money is needed? 2. Do you need to invest in repairs, buy equipment, or get a license? How much do you need? 3. Do you need to buy goods, materials, etc.? How much do you need? 4. To operate a minimum of 3 to 6 months, cash is required. What is that number? Add the sum of the above 4 numbers, and you will know how much you need to invest from the beginning. Note that in items 2, remodeling, and 3, purchasing materials, you can calculate the time it actually takes to get the best budget. For example, if you invest in opening a store in the winter, but only need an air conditioner installed in the summer, you can estimate the cost of installing that air conditioner in the summer rather than purchasing it from the start. After the first calculation, you already know how much money you need to start a business. The next step is to know how much money you will have to pay each day when you wake up in the morning. This is known as a fixed cost. Fixed costs are defined as doing nothing but still having to pay, like someone who does nothing but must eat. 2. How much money will you spend each day when you wake up in the morning? Calculating fixed costs is a key to success. This calculation is very simple, but I notice that many people do not care, do not calculate carefully, or do not calculate correctly. Fixed costs can be calculated flexibly in each business model to change the cost structure in the most reasonable way. However, for a small business model, keep the following suggestions in mind. 1. Renting premises costs. Even if you do not rent, it is a good idea to estimate the cost as if you did, because the cost of renting your own home should be taken into account. Even if you have paid your rent for 3 or 6 months, you will still need a separate monthly equivalent or a plan to pay your next rent. Cash flow mindset. 2. Electricity, water, Wi-Fi, etc. If you own a manufacturing company, you can incorporate part of these costs into your fixed costs. The rest goes to the cost of the product, variable costs. 3. Depreciation. You invest in repairing, decorating, buying items, etc. Example. Suppose you spent $150,000 on coffee shop equipment. After 3 years, items and equipment will lose their value. What is still usable must be kept, while the rest must be discarded. If, after 3 years, the remaining liquidation value is only about $30,000, that means that the cafe depreciates $40,000 every year. The monthly depreciation is approximately $3,340. A lot of people do not count this number, and they think they are making a profit when, in fact, they are not. 4. Fixed employee payments. Personnel costs account for the majority of a company's expenses, because one of the basic reasons for the existence of a business is to provide employment. However, businesses must also carefully consider calculating monthly fixed personnel costs and commission-based staffing costs, also known as commissions for work results. Fixed personnel costs are the fixed salaries you have to pay even if the business is not operating. Personnel costs, by commission or work results, are sums of money paid to employees for completing tasks. Note, when working in family business, pay yourself and your family members, such as your wife and children, if they work for the business. Number 5. Other costs. There are many small expenses that are difficult to calculate because they are too detailed, but they always exist, so calculate them at a certain percentage. There are many things that have not yet been named based on the characteristics of each business model that you can incorporate into your business model. 3. What should the minimum profit be per month to cover costs? Break-even point. Before investing, you must calculate the break-even point in advance to determine your revenue target, which should be above the break-even point. At the break-even point, you have no profit but also no loss. You can calculate the break-even point based on the number of products sold or the amount of money earned. For businesses that deal with multiple product lines, consider this calculation as one that does not require high accuracy. Determination of the average monthly revenue goal. In business, there are high and low seasons in every industry. Perhaps the peak season for milk tea is summer, and the low season is winter. Maybe in other industries, such as the clothing industry, the peak season is at the end of the year and the low season is during the summer months. However, whether there is a high or low season, we can set an average revenue target for each month to know where we are aiming. A minimum break-even point target of -10%, -20% loss, and a maximum break-even point target of X2, X3, or X5. According to the above milk tea shop example, low season target temporarily calculated at the break-even point. Break-even point by product, 1,109 cups month. Break-even point by revenue, 55,425 month. Average goal temporary X2. Target by product, 2,218 cups month. Target by revenue, 110,850 month. Peak season goals, temporary X4. Target by product, 4,436 cups month. Target by revenue, 221,700 month. For example, in 1 year, quarter 1, the low season, quarters 2 and 3, average season, quarter 4, high season. We can calculate the average monthly revenue by dividing it by 12 months. 1,514,475 spread 12 months equals 126,200, rounded. So the average monthly revenue of this milk tea shop can be rounded to 126,000. Do not think the goal of 4,000 cups per month is high. The only problem is your creativity and marketing ability. I have a student in Empower who opened a cafe with an area of about 100 millimeters. Each month, he sells 12,000 to 21,000 cups, equivalent to 300 to 700 cups per day. Sometimes customers have to wait because there are no seats. Remember that success or failure has a lot to do with mindset. Dare to think, dare to do, and dare to calculate. Summary 1. Calculate the amount of money required to start a business. Do you have to rent a house? How much investment in equipment is needed? How much money do you need to buy the necessary products or items? How much cash is required? 2. Calculate fixed costs and break-even point. Break-even point equals fixed costs, gross profit. 3. Define revenue goals. Predetermine the peak and low seasons of the year and set up specific marketing strategies to achieve revenue goals. 2 actions to take right now. 1. Take a pen and paper to calculate each of the above numbers. 2. Check the calculation list again to make sure you did not miss anything. Your success or failure is determined by this specific action step. Note, there is only one reason for bankruptcy: a loss of cash flow.